Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of Loki. And this week we are going ahead and talking about 1893, a time that I don't remember. Do you remember anything about 1893?
You know, that was in my heyday, back when I was in high school and all, just killing it up, no, dude, I don't even remember 1993, dude.
I was going to say, do any of us even remember 1983, let alone 1893?
Dude, I wasn't even alive in 83, dude. I was 6 in 93, so.
But no, we have episode 3 of season 2 of Loki, 1893. My lovely little thumbnail here that you're going to see on the YouTube version. Your thoughts as a non-spoiler section as we have our good friend Astrid jumping in. Hello,
Hi,
Astrid. And for those that don't know, if you're an Impact fan, make sure that you go ahead and stay tuned to us after we're done, because shortly on, whenever it ends, Bound for Glory post show with both of our tag team partners without us.
Yeah.
Going ahead and reviewing Impact's Bound for Glory 2023. So make sure you go ahead and check them out. It is going to be a fantastic show. Astrid is watching it now. Go ahead and give me your non-spoiler thoughts on this episode.
I love 1893. I just love the year, man. Like, just some great shit. Some tremendous stuff happens. It's like all of the acting. Everybody's acting. Like we talked about it with Secret Invasion. We've been talking about it with Hiddleston and Owen Wilson and this dude, Obagoya or whatever.
Kiwi Kwan.
Kiwi Kwan. I can't remember his character name though.
Obi.
I was trying to say the whole thing, but it said Uba Gooba or something. I don't know. Yeah. Dude, like, and just other characters coming up that came in this show, that came into this episode, like people, CGI, all the acting is so well. It's so well done, man. Like I just started playing Spider-Man 2 yesterday that came out, and acting there's incredible. And I go into watching this, and I'm like, God damn! Like Marvel has it on point. Like with everything like coming out Marvel right now, I'm loving. Like and I heard a lot of hate for Secret Invasion. I don't understand because I loved the acting. I loved the story.
We did. We really enjoyed Secret Invasion. It wasn't the greatest thing that they've put out, but I didn't think it was as bad as people kept saying it is.
Yeah, and then this is just, and then I know the reactions to this series so far has been insanely positive, which I'm loving, and just it's so good how everybody's doing in this show, and the characters they brought in here in this episode only make it better. Nobody brought it down. It just absolutely phenomenal.
We've talked about how Ouroboros and Casey were kind of the show stealers, and Brad last week were show stealers in the episodes that we've seen so far. In this episode, it was the two characters that we got to see for the first time that really stole the show. I guess three. I mean, I didn't think she stole the show as much as other people do. But yes, I was going to say the two I was going to mention are the two at the bottom of the screen.
I thought
Jonathan Majors was fantastic. Now, again, guilt or innocence is not ours to prove. That case is still sorting itself out, and we will leave that where it is. We will talk about his acting ability and his acting ability alone in this.
He's incredible. He's an incredible actor, man. I watched him in Creed 3, whole different beast, and then now it's different. It's almost like different people acting these roles.
Yep,
it's crazy.
And Tara Strong pulling out one of the greatest performances from any voiceover actor in a live action setting. I think in Marvel history, and Marvel has a history of having really great voice actors for their CGI created characters. But Tara Strong has absolutely killed it as Miss Minutes, and in this episode especially.
Like Groot and Rocket both have broken my heart, and they were incredible CGI characters. But Miss Minutes made me scared of her. That's how good Tara Strong's voice acting was. Is it made me scared of this character. This girl is Batgirl. She's Harley Quinn. She is legendary. I somewhere heard she was the first North American voice of Hello Kitty. I could be wrong on that, but she's such an incredibly great voice actress and actress in her own. She's acted in. She's a live action actress too, but her voice acting is where it's all at, man. She is so good. And I will say, the number 3 out of the people in point, yes, is Ravonna.
Yeah,
I still thought she did a great job, especially at the end.
Yeah, I agree. I will wholeheartedly agree that I think that she did a fantastic job throughout this episode. But the The things that I pulled from this were, and I have to credit Eric from New Rockstars, because I noticed it while I was watching it, but on my second and third watch throughs, I really noticed it. There is emotion built into the CGI'd portions of the Miss Minutes character in this episode that if you watch it again after being told what to look for, you're going to be shocked at everything you missed about her character and everything that she did in this episode. There are so many little looks and so many little side eyes and the jealousy. And again, non-spoilers, we're about to go into spoilers, but the jealousy that she acts through. And again, it's not only Tara Strong there, it is to the amazing work of the CGI team to be able to take what they've been given as a script and to know exactly how this character is going to interact with live action characters and how she doesn't feel out of place.
No.
So many times a CGI character can feel out of place in a live action scenario. She fits so perfectly, especially in this episode.
Oh, 100%.
We're gonna
Again, like it's just, you got to give credit. There's so much credit to the writers who wrote the words, to the director who was directing Tara Strong in how to like get her best. Bobby Petito in the chat, how you doing, my friend? I know Bobby, big supporter of Andre and Melba Wrestling Talk. Love you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Big supporter at all things here at our local establishment too.
Very
He's
much
Bobby
so.
Stats guy. If you talk to Parrish, he's all kinds of great. Bobby, we greatly appreciate you jumping in here. We're going to go ahead and jump into the spoiler section now. I think we've talked about as much as we need to about everything that happened here tonight without going into the spoilers. So we should just go ahead and jump right in. And if we're talking about spoilers for this episode, we have to talk about everything. And we start in the beginning. The ragtime introduction.
So good.
Thought it was great. It's so simple and so stupid. But you know what? That ragtime Marvel intro, Michael Cicino, and big ups to him. If you haven't already seen it, it is now live on Disney Plus. Werewolf by Night, his directorial debut for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is now available in color. And while it's not my preferred version of watching it,
it's interesting.
I found so many more interesting things watching it in color that I didn't notice in black and white.
100%. When I was watching, I was noticing things I'd never noticed. But like, this guy is just amazing.
He killed it. And for those that don't know, we know him as the fact that he's the director of Werewolf by Night. The other things he's been doing for Marvel for years is he's on almost every project. He does a lot of the scores. And starting on Doctor Strange, he came up with that Marvel's thing that we hear with the musical introduction. And he's the one who brought that to life. And again, he brought a horror version of it to life in Werewolf by Night when he did his own directorial debut in that. And here we now have the ragtime version of the Marvel Sting. I love how they suit everything to the times and the periods they're talking about.
Yeah, I love it when you see, like, I remember watching Community back in the day, and they would change up their themes whenever they had a themed episode. Just all the different TV shows that I've done that, I love when you change up that an opening theme just to give it a feel. And this, when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I knew exactly. I hadn't watched anything about what the episode was going to be. All I knew was the name 1883. I was like, ooh, and then once the ragtime stuff started playing, I'm like, this has to be Victor. This has to be Victor. And I was so excited when that ragtime theme played.
But we didn't start with Victor. We actually started with Ravonna and Miss Minutes talking about the plan. And this is the plan that we're now finally seeing, the files that were sent to Ravonna at the end of season 1. And she's told to grab an item. and to go to this location in Chicago, Illinois in 1868. The reason why this is interesting is that while we don't know it yet, this is the home of Victor Timely.
A young
Victor Timely.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Minutes goes ahead and talks to Miss Minutes, and she's irritated because Miss Minutes has taken her here, and she thinks that she's here to meet somebody important. And all she's here to do is bring the TVA guidebook and throw it through the window because Miss Minutes has no physical body to do so. And I find it interesting, having watched it back, everything that Miss Minutes does in this episode is to use Ravonna to get to Victor Timely. She cares not about the need to have Ravonna here. It is solely that she thinks she can use Ravonna to get to Victor.
Mm-hmm.
She goes ahead and we see her throw the guidebook through the window, and even a young Victor is making candles. Because his entire character of Victor Timely in this version is consumed by making light.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on this time period in 1868 here?
I thought it was cool. I love when she kind of came through the portal and she's like steps into the mud and just like all PO'd with getting mud all over her boots and her clothing. I love the frustration she has. It's like, I'm not meeting somebody. What the? And I'm just here to deliver a book. What? And her getting mad. And then when she puts the book through, it's revealed to be the TVA handbook that we saw in the last episode. I was like, oh yes. It was like, this is how Kang become Kang. I think I messaged you before I watched this episode with my own theory of what was going to happen. That Victor Timely was going to be shown to be the Kang from Quantum Mania thrown back in time. That is the story of Victor Timely. He is Kang going back in time to amass power and wealth on Earth to screw the Avengers over in the future. But I think I think we got a great little version of Kang here. Can't hear you, bro.
Sorry about that. I did love seeing yours after I had already watched the episode. And I loved how I was really coy about this because I watched the episode and made the thumbnail as soon as I finished watching the episode. And I told you and Astrid in our group chat, I've watched the episode and it's ... something.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to spoil it for you guys because I knew neither of you were watching it right away. And I said, once I know you guys have watched the show, I can go ahead and show you the thumbnail. Because if I'd shown anybody this thumbnail before they watched the show, I have a feeling it's going to give everything away.
Yeah.
No, I thought this was great. I did love your idea because that is what Victor Timely, as you said, in the comics, Victor Timely is Kang the Conqueror after being defeated by the Avengers, goes all the way back to the early 1900s in Timely, Wisconsin, and builds himself a robotics empire using these knowledge of technology to enhance the world to a bigger place in time so that he can amass not only wealth, but he can go ahead and do so many other things. This is also where he meets Ravonna Renslayer and everything else. So Timely, Wisconsin is a very important part of the Timely Comics. Also, Timely Comics is a former name of Marvel Comics, which is why Timely, Wisconsin is the area that he goes back to, because Marvel's always been one to go back to their own history.
Yep, they're very good at that.
After we see,
unlike the WWE.
Oh no, WWE loves to go back to their own history. They just don't like go back to other people's history.
Nah, they ignore their history a lot.
Only when it's done. Only when it's problematic to their own storytelling. Speaking of great storytelling, we get the only time we see 3 of these characters essentially in the entire episode, and I don't count the other time we see B-15 and Casey. We see Ouroboros, Mobius, Loki, B-15, and Casey all having a discussion about how to fix the problem with the blast doors and the time loom. And they all come to the same conclusion that they need Victor Timely. So they decide to go, since last episode they had gotten a hit on Renslayer's time pad. They decided, well, we have to go there and start finding her, because if we don't, we're stuck. We need something. And they know that she's working with Miss Minutes. And I love how Mobius calls it out. And he goes, I don't know what good is going to be finding Miss Minutes. She's gone rogue and she's AWOL. She's not going to help us even if we find her.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, because they say they need to get Miss Minutes so that she can fix it, because she can reboot everything.
Yes, but Mobius also makes the point that she's gone AWOL, and how likely is she to help them at this point? Because if she were really interested in helping, she would have already been back here doing it.
Yeah. So again, like, they chase Renslayer and Miss Minutes to what? To 16 or 1860.
They go back. They go to 1868 first, and they try to figure out why they need to be there. And they're standing in front of the window. I love it. They were in front of had they known where they were and what they were doing, they could have stopped all this. But then it gets into the Back to the Future of it all. If they stop here and get the TVA book from Victor Timely's younger self in 1968, does he eventually go on to create the TVA? Because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point now.
Yeah, snake eating itself.
The Victor Timely, it's the Ouroboros of it all.
Mm-hmm.
It is officially now the Ouroboros of it all. He who remains creates the TVA, but to do so, he has to give his own variant in a different timeline, in a different time, all the ideas to get all that started so that he can have the technology he needs to create this at the end of time.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know that they're in front of the spot that they need, and they can't figure out why they're here. But they know there's another temp pad reading in 1893 in the exact same location. So they just go around a corner and walk through a time door.
I love the simplicity of it. I really do.
So going back, we have some pictures. This is the window that we're talking about, and this is earlier on when they were talking about it. And Mobius and them walk around the corner, and they walk into the World's Fair. 1980. So now we're in 1893. We're in the middle of ragtime. Chicago's World's Fair. Fantastic time. All kinds of science, all kinds of culture, all kinds of music. Everything you could imagine was on display at this World's Fair. Mm-hmm. Including Thor and Odin.
Okay, this was a note I wrote down. Loki's reaction is like, and just getting mad at, like, kind of getting mad at it and saying, this doesn't look like them. Why would you do this? And it's just because this is the Loki that still has utter contempt for his father and brother. Mm-hmm. I loved his just like getting annoyed at it, and then like being like, Balder, why Balder? And like and then you have Predator going like, well, he's the wise, and he's just like, and look, he's just like blows off the like Balder being like on Balder as a set ball or the brave, not the wise, and he just went like he's like bull crap. There's just those little things that I loved Hiddleston for that. He was so good.
The ironic thing about this is not the first time that Balder the Brave and the MCU have been tied together. There is a past interview where a big famous actor was supposed to be playing Balder the Brave in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, another sibling to Thor. That actor was Daniel Craig. Oh, James Bond himself was supposed to be playing Balder the Brave. And he even kind of denies it on an interview that was played. Again, I do a lot of research into the Easter egg things, and I don't know if it was heavy spoilers or if it was Eric Voss over at New Rockstars. But yes, Balder the Brave was brought up before in the MCU, and there was a time period where he was going to be part of some of these stories, but they were dropped.
I just love how like Loki's utter reaction to his other brother though. That just like,
Yep.
ugh. I love
And the
that
best
so
line
much.
of the entire show, where Mobius talks about, sometimes I forget that you really are one of them, that you're a god. Where Mobius finally accepts that Loki is who Loki is, and that he's a god, and he knows these people, and that these deities are real to him, and they're not just stories and make believe like they are to the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
And Mobius walks away, and he looks at it, and he looks at Thor, and he goes, "Thor isn't that tall," and walks off. Just fantastic. Absolute fantastic.
Such utter contempt. Just so good.
We also hear, as they're walking through the area of the World's Fair, about a clock that is run around and haunting the Midway. We get this picture on the newspaper of the Chicago Tribune, I think this is. No, the Daily Chicago Press.
Yeah.
And if you look in the center, you can actually see a picture of Miss Minutes in this photograph. I love when they add those little things into the show. Like, they could have just said that there was a thing, but they make a newspaper and they show it to us.
I love it.
Just fantastic. We then get them seeing Victor Timely's temporal marvels on the sign, and they finally realize that they're in the right place. And this is where the bulk of the episode really starts to take place. All of this has been a precursor. It was a bit too long for my liking. It took a little longer to get here than I would have liked, but it's fine. And we get, as again, I'm going to continue to credit Eric Voss because he's fantastic at these alliterations. We get Thomas Edison with Frederick Douglass Hare as Victor Timely gets out there, and he starts showing that time is the most important thing in the universe. And he takes his sweet-ass time showing off this new prototype, which ends up being the time loom. This is a prototype of the same time loom that's right now causing havoc in the TVA. Just fantastic. But in this place, we have Renslayer with Miss Minutes in her bag, and Loki and Mobius looking for Renslayer. And then Loki realizes that this is a variant of He Who Remains. And we see the scene from Ant-Man 3 Quantumania, the post-credit scene, literally pulled directly from this scene right here, where Loki's like, this is him. And he's like, really? Are you sure? You said he was evil, and he doesn't look that bad. He looks like a nice guy. What did you think of this whole spiel that Victor Timely gives?
I fucking love it so much. Again, we're talking about Major's acting here. It's not about who this is as a person. He is absolutely tremendous. Like I said, I've watched this guy play so many different roles over these last few years, and just he's so eclectic in this, and like stopping every couple words and just go, and then like it's performance art here. It's so good. And just like the choice that he made, or the director made, or whoever, to have, or how they developed him to play this scene, was absolutely tremendous. Like, I loved the way he was doing that. Just that the pauses, I loved it. I thought he was captivating the way he did it.
Yeah, this would have played out much better in a movie than in a show, because this scene took forever. And while it was great and it was good, 90% of everything he said was fluff.
Oh God, yeah,
unnecessary. Like, and granted, I loved it. I thought he gave us a great introduction to the character, and it's the only reason why we need to keep it is because we need to understand that this isn't He Who Remains. This isn't Kang the Conqueror. This is Victor Timely. Victor Timely is an actor. Victor Timely is an inventor. More than that, he's a snake oil salesman. He's willing to sell and create any prototype to then sell it to make money.
The fucking pants.
We'll get to this, because in this scene, after he goes through his whole spiel of talking about how this weaves the energy, because he's selling it as a way to power the world. But when you listen to it again, he's explaining how it weaves time, or how it will in the future. Instead of weaving energy, it will weave time. And how it brings it all into one strand from multiple different directions and everything like that. But he gets off stage and somebody wants to buy his product. And he's like, they want to become partners. And he brings up the most important line that we have to keep remembering throughout the show. Victor Timely doesn't do partnerships. And he says, you know what? No, I'm not going to sell my prototype. I don't need help developing it. I'm going to be okay. And he starts to walk away. And then somebody else tries to buy it. And they start a bidding war for this right there in the middle of the hall. However, unbeknownst to everybody else bidding, the person who started the bidding war at $500 in this episode is a ploy by Victor Timely. He wanted to get somebody to get it started so that he could raise the price of a prototype that he knew would never work.
I loved it. I thought this guy is the ultimate shuckster and huckster, whatever you want to call it. He's just so good.
He's a carny through and through. He's the beginning of what we will eventually term as a carny. He is a snake oil salesman con man who's willing to do anything and everything to make a buck. And I love it. Mr. Parrish, thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Hello, Papa Parrish.
Hello, Papa Parrish.
So we finally get through this scene of Victor Timely, setting up and showing what the thing does. And he turns it on to full blast and it explodes. Basically, it explodes. It doesn't work. He lights all the light bulbs, but he does it in such a way that it overloads everything and craps out so that he can try to sell it. And he does for $1,000, to which he gives some to the guy who started the whole thing. And then he starts to try to get out of there. He's then met by a councilman. And this is where Andre, yes, the pants.
The pants!
To make somebody taller. That don't work. So Victor Timely scrunches himself down a bit and bends his knees so that he appears shorter, so that this person has the idea that he's taller. And he says, I'll be by to work on the prototype sometime next week. Knowing full well he's never going to see this man because he's going to go on the run.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get into the point where Renslayer's trying to convince Timely to go with her. And Loki and Mobius are also trying to convince Victor Timely to go with them. And Victor can't seem to understand why the two people who seem to be wanting the same thing don't want to work together. Victor Timely's then chased by the man who he sold his product to because the guy figures out that it's not real and that it's never going to work and he wants his money back, as anybody would who spent $1,000 on nothing.
Mm-hmm. Especially in 1893. $1,000 means it's way more.
But he manages to get onto a Ferris wheel. But this is an old school Ferris wheel. So instead of having just a seat on a Ferris wheel, every thing that the Ferris wheel is connected to is like a booth that a bunch of people would be attached to.
Yeah, like you have that. There's one over in London, I'm fairly sure.
Yeah, I think the London Eye still has this.
Yeah, they have the big, like, you get in with your friends, pop up poop in Paris. Jesus. But yeah, like, again, yeah, you got like a group of you can all go in there together and hang out and take the ride
and it's
around.
Glass walls as opposed to just a seat that you sit on. It's not like a seated ride. It's much more to do.
Like it's like at a really high-end ski resort that have the booth ones you can go up in. Yeah, it's what it is.
Yep. Yeah. So he goes ahead and convinces the guy who's chasing him to run into here, and then he slips out right before the door closes so that guy is closed off. But then Sylvie pops up And she goes ahead and chases him and Loki into this. And now we have Loki, Sylvie, and Victor Timely all in the same place at the same time. And we find Loki trying to save Victor from Sylvie. Because in the last episode, we had a scene with Loki and Sylvie, and he says, "What are you going to do if you find any of He Who Remains' variants?" Because they were told that as soon as they kill him, the other ones are going to start coming through.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that she was going to kill them all. And she's here to make good on that promise. She's found one of the variants of He Who Remains, and she wants to kill him. But Loki needs this one. So they get into an argument. What are your thoughts here of Sylvie, Loki, and a very scared Jonathan Majors who doesn't understand exactly what's going on?
Like it feels like episode 6 of season 1. It's like a continuation of the end of time stuff, because she wanted to kill him and he was like reluctant to it. It's still that same dynamic between the two. I love the fact that they paralleled it like that.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think Sylvie plays a very minor but pivotal role in this episode of being the ticking clock. Mm-hmm. Well, we have a clock in this minutes. In the entire episode is a ticking clock from Sylvie. That she's constantly on the prowl to try to kill He Who Remains. Mm-hmm. Well, in this case, Victor Timely. And I thought that was a very nice put through of how to do this. Again, there's a bunch of talking and a bunch of exposition, but at the end of the day, it's a long scene that doesn't accomplish a ton. Because it's a lot of the same thing over and over again. You can't kill him. I need him. Why are you protecting the TVA? Well, because the TVA needs to be protected, because if you want to live your life on this branch timeline, we need to figure out how to fix the loom, because if the loom breaks, all the branch timelines go away and bad things are going to happen to you, Sylvie, so you can't kill him. Yeah.
I love the logic to it all.
But again, it what they could do in 3 minutes, the whole episode feels like it does it in 6. Every scene feels like 6 minutes long to take care of what you could have done in 3. And it's my only negative to this episode is there's always just so many words.
Yeah.
And it's good to see the acting ability of a Tom Hiddleston and Jonathan Majors and whoever plays something. God, I can't remember her name.
Sophia DiMartino.
There we go. Sophia DiMartino. There's so much that you get out of this scene, but it just feels like it takes forever.
Yeah. Oh, it does. Like a lot of the exposition scenes outside of maybe the end one all feel too long.
And the only reason why I say that they're too long and it just feels like it takes forever is because the exposition isn't them telling us a lot of new information. It's a lot of repeated information, because we constantly have to tell every character the things that we've already been told over and over and over again.
Yeah.
However, thankfully, it finally ends. Sylvie goes ahead and uses magic to blast all of them out of the thing and onto the fairgrounds. And Ravonna and Miss Minutes get away with Victor Timely by using Miss Minutes herself as the massive ghost clock.
It was so good.
So good. Absolutely fantastic.
So good, so evil.
She's almost Danhausen.
Almost.
Not as good as Danhausen, but kind of close to Danhausen. And they go to his workshop, and he introduces the refrigeration chair. By the way, I totally need this. Because it's one thing to have a chair that heats. That's all great and fine and dandy. But wouldn't it be great in the wintertime to be able to have a chair that could cool you off?
In the wintertime?
I'm sorry, in the summertime.
There you
go. In the wintertime too. You throw on the heat to the house, you get the house all nice and warm, then you have a chair that can cool you off just where you need it.
You turn your heat on in the winter? I try not to. It's too expensive.
Oh, that's that Canadian oil. You gotta get the good American stuff. Anyway.
No, we have Saudi oil. Come on, that's what we burn.
Oh, that's another blood money topic for a blood money day. Anyways, this is where we get the heart of everything that really matters about this episode. Ravonna telling us that she's on her own side with Miss Minutes. And Miss Minutes proving very quickly with looks, tons of looks, that she's not on Ravonna's side.
Yeah. But in this entire scene here, I love the little seeds they are planting with Ravonna and Victor, and then with Miss Minutes and Victor, and then the seeds you're seeing of Miss Minutes and Ravonna's relationship. And you're seeing the way she's smiling at him, the way she's laughing at certain things he does. It's okay, this is they're trying to create the Ravonna timely relationship that we got in the comics.
Mm-hmm. And it's great because we get a moment where Victor's talking to Ravonna and he's like, I got the book. And she's like, I delivered the book. And Miss Minutes is like, well, yeah, you delivered the book in the same way that the post office delivers the book. But you only delivered it because I was the one who gave you the information. When he's talking to Miss Minutes and he asks Ravonna, he goes, Ms. And she goes, no, I'm not a Mrs. And she uses MS as opposed to MISS. And we get this little difference. And again, new rock stars, all credit to them. They're the ones who pointed this out to me. The difference in the two, that she's presenting herself as being open to a relationship, but also that she's not as old-fashioned as Miss Minutes, because instead of the MISS, which was the old way that you would have done it, Ravonna is just MS.
And again, that makes a lot more sense because if you realize that Victor Timely is the one that essentially is creating Miss Minutes in the end, and he is that old school dude, so makes sense.
Yep, but it's a fun little point of view. But again, it's another link in that dissension between Miss Minutes and Ravonna in this episode, where it's another place where Miss Minutes is getting irritated because she can sense the connection between Victor Timely and Ravonna, and she wants that for herself. And again, we'll get more into that as we go. We also find out where everybody's positioned in this episode. Sylvie only wants to kill Victor because all she wants to do is keep her the life that she wants, and she'll kill any version of He Who Remains to make sure it happens. Loki and Mobius don't care what happens as long as they can get the time loom fixed. They don't care what they have to do or who they have to do it with in order to get that to happen. If it means working with Ravonna, fine. If it means working with Victor Timely, Mobius is on board and Loki's a little bit less on board, but he'll do it. And Ravonna is on her own side, kind of siding with Miss Minutes, but all she wants is power. She wants to go ahead and have all the power. But they finally get away. People knock on the door trying to get a hold of Victor, and he has an escape plan. And they run off. And he explains that while this is his workshop, the main office that he uses is in Wisconsin because better taxes. Because also Wisconsin is better
than Wisconsin.
Because also Wisconsin is better than Illinois. Having been a former Wisconsin resident, I
have no opinion.
I do. I lived in Wisconsin for a great time. It was a delightful place to live, and it is much better than Illinois. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, we see the scene of them on the boat, and they get onto a ferry boat, but because they're not going to pay, they go ahead and stow away in one of the rowboats on the side of the boat. And this proves very important when, as they're getting closer and closer, Renslayer and Timely are getting closer and closer, their hands touch for a moment. And Miss Minutes is not happy. She's very irritated by this.
Oh yeah, because she's in love with Victor Timely. She's in love with He Who Remains.
However, as soon as their fingers touch, Ravonna says that I can see greatness in this partnership. And you see Miss Minutes slowly move over to the other side of the boat next to Victor Timely because she knows what happens when somebody tries to partner with Victor.
Mm-hmm.
And while Ravonna is catching a little bit of sleep as the boat's going across the water, Timely goes ahead and drops the rowboat and leaves her behind. And as he says, and as Miss Minutes says, she did it to herself. You don't do partnerships.
I love it.
It's so good because they've been setting this scene since the beginning of the episode about partnerships and how it's the one word that can scare this man off.
Mm-hmm.
And again, throughout this scene, there are more looks from Miss Minutes, side-eye to Renslayer. She does not like Renslayer more and more as this episode goes because Renslayer's in between what she wants. But Victor and Miss Minutes finally get to their workshop in Timely, Wisconsin. And he finally gets the items he needs, and he's ready to leave. And she's like, what's the rush? We got time. It's no big deal. And finally, she explains everything about herself and her creation to us in the form of telling Victor Timely. And I want to go ahead and let you take a little bit of charge on this one and talk about the things that she says.
Again, she's talking about how she was just this basic AI program before you came along and turned me and created her and turned her into the advanced AI emotional program robot, whatever the heck she is. I don't know if she's a robot. She's a virtual program. I don't know what to call her. Like, I don't know if she actually is.
So she's an AI. She explains it in this scene.
No, but like, I don't understand. Like, she exists as light. I don't know if she's a robot. I don't know what she is.
She's an AI she's essentially Ultron. She's another version of Ultron. She's an AI with more. She's not just an AI. She has more to her than just that. She's able to write her own programs to give herself whatever needs she needs to meet whatever problems arise.
Yeah. And then she's talking to him about how he helped create her, make her what she is, but you never gave me a body. But with a body, we could rule. And this is where this man turns on her now, because now she's talking about partnerships.
She's talking about more than a partnership, though. The purpose of this scene is she puts her own clock face on a mannequin's face.
Yeah, so creepy.
Lovers.
Yeah, but again, you can see it turn in his head. He's like, "Fuck no!" Yeah. Like he doesn't love anybody. He doesn't work with anybody. He doesn't like again. Your person, your whatever, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your whatever friend, they're your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't do partners.
No.
It's just simple as that. And this is where he gets all nervous, and then he traps her in the time pad. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's fantastic.
And she's coming at him like about to fuck with him. He pulled up like a modified tim pad and captures her in it.
Yeah. And the best part is not only does he do that, as she's coming towards him in that moment, she's saying, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Because she says I, and later on in the episode when we see her reappear, comes out the words love you.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, awkward. Mm-hmm. But Renslayer then moves in. And Renslayer is no longer, Ravonna Renslayer, judge of the TVA. No. This is Terminator Killer Renslayer, sort of like Commando Rambo style Renslayer.
It's Sarah Connor.
Yeah,
She's Sarah fucking Connor.
Her sleeves are rolled up. She's dirty because she had to do all that. She's been chasing after this man. Not only that, she has a prototype pruning stick. And Lord knows this woman will prune anybody and anybody who gets in her way.
She'll prune mannequins, motherfucker.
And she did. And she did.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an interesting scene because Mobius and Loki come in at this exact moment. And we get this wonderful back and forth where Renslayer is basically saying that the TVA would fall apart without her. Not only that it would, it did. That all she is the order of this place. Without her, there is no order in the TVA. That as soon as she left the TVA, disorder happened.
Oh, 100%.
And I love it. She says this exact line. I am order. And as soon as she finishes that word, boom, green light fills the entire room, blasts everybody to the ground, and Sylvie shows up. And Sylvie's basically in that moment saying, and I am chaos.
So
Ravonna is order, and Sylvie is chaos.
I love it. That was a perfect scene. Like Sylvie's entrance, just out of nowhere, just like, I'm chaos. I'm just like,
and the best part is she doesn't even say the words. She doesn't say anything, but you know just the way the whole scene is playing out. That's exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets right over him with the sword in hand, and she's about to kill him. And Victor looks up at her and he goes, you don't know the heart I have beating in my chest. I can make my own choices. I'm not the man that you think I am. And in this moment, finally, no matter what logic has been thrown at her, no matter what knowledge has been thrown at her, no matter what people tell her about why they need this man alive, those are the words. And it's because she realizes if she kills Victor timely, she's no better than he who remains.
She's no better than any member of the TV no better than the member of the TV that tried to prune her originally. Yeah. None of it. Like, she realizes she's just as bad if she kills any other variant.
And I love that. In this moment, we see her understand why she was pruned and why she has to let him go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all over a few words. And again, it is perfect acting from both of them.
Because those two are one and the same. Yeah. They're both variants of what should have been the Prime. And I love that you show that parallel, and that she's forced to just be like, fuck. If I want to let myself live, I have to let this fucker live. Like, it's crazy.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Sylvie then goes ahead and says, go. Get him out of here. Fix what you need to. But you better not be messing with me.
Hmm.
And Loki goes through the time door. Victor goes through the time door. Mobius waits a minute. And he looks back at Ravonna. And it's almost like he's trying to decide whether or not to save her or leave her to Sylvie. Without a word, he just walks away.
You could see almost a panic on Ravonna's face in a way. Of like when it shows her, she's like, shit.
And she tells Sylvie to kill her. She goes, fine, you wanted this, you've got it. You can get rid of me now. Because she realizes now that Loki and Mobius have Victor Timely, she can't accomplish the goals that she had. There's nothing she can do. She's out of luck. And Sylvie's going to kill her. She knows how this story ends for her as far as she can tell. But Sylvie says, be careful what you wish for. You wanted to find out what happens at the end of time. And she uses He Who Remains temp pad, which she still has. And she kicks her into the time door. And Ravonna is brought back to the Citadel at the end of time, with all the branches started, and the body of he who remains is still there, or as I have written here, decay who remains.
But dude, the rest of the fucking Citadel was in ruins,
Yeah,
and it
it's
was
all falling
awesome.
It's all falling apart. Nothing is solid because time is losing all track of everything.
I more or less thought Sylvie just went insane and blew the fucking place up. That was the way I interpreted all the damage in the place, was her just blowing shit up.
No, I think it was due to the fact that all of the same things that are happening at the TVA are happening to the sacred timeline here.
Yeah.
And we're having those same time quakes types of things, where those energy blasts of time are coming at the Citadel at the end of time.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the Citadel falling apart at the seams. And I can literally say at the seams, because if you remember at the end of the Citadel at the end of time, the Japanese style of architecture that they used has all those cuts and seams in it. And it's those same places where the pieces are falling and the Citadel's crumbling. And he who remains is just lying there. The dead body of he who remains is there. She opens up the time pad, as Andre pointed out to me, because I did not notice this, and she lets Miss Minutes out. And that's where Miss Minutes says, "Love you," and she realizes that it's just Ravonna, and she's a little irritated. But now Miss Minutes is angry. And she goes, "It was foolish of him to turn his back on me, because I'm the person who knows his secrets. I know a big one about you, but you won't want to hear it because it'll make you angry."
He killed her, didn't he? Or they had a relationship. He took her from her timeline and took her memories. Bet you anything.
Because the funny thing is, whereas Mobius doesn't seem to remember all of his timelines, there's one thing that Ravonna continues to say. We've been friends for eons. She's always using such a long term of time. She's not being reset like all these other variants are. Remember,
but her initial memories are not there.
Because after setting this up and living a life with Victor Timely, he turns his back on her. Or it may not even be Victor Timely. I'm going to guess it was Kang that she falls in love with eventually. I think we're going to see the start of a relationship between an evil version of Kang and Ravonna Renslayer going forward.
I can see it.
And that's going to be the secret that Miss Minutes has, is that he took that life away from you, that life that you two had together. He felt so little for you that he stole it from you and got rid of it. And just made you a judge. He didn't even let you run the place. He made you, because remember, not only was she not a judge at first, she was all the way to the bottom and worked her way back up. Because she's the one who goes after Sylvie originally as a hunter. And then we see her later on as the agent. Just a fantastic episode.
Dude, so good.
Absolutely fantastic. But the last question I have for you on this. Victor Timely calls this his most important creation. It is the throughput multiplier, is what he calls it. What do you think this is going to be?
I'm not sure.
I've seen some things, and apparently people have blown up the picture of when he opens it. And apparently it's a similar structure to his time chair.
Oh, that makes sense.
So apparently, but the throughput multiplier might have something to do with Kang's time chair.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Quantum Mania.
That makes so much sense.
Again, rumors. People. It could be coming from people who have seen episode 4, because episode 4 is the last episode that anybody who has had screener copies has been able to see. Unlike most episodes, they only get to see normally the first 2, maybe the first 3. This season, they were given the first 4 episodes of Loki season 2 of 6. So they were given a lot of access to these episodes beforehand.
Our friend Boris from SNME Radio, who joined us on the finale for Secret Invasion, he had actually seen this finale about a week before it came out because he got it off a screener copy from one of the other shows he does, reviewing geek culture and stuff. So he had actually already seen the finale of Secret Invasion a week out. He was getting them all a week before. Yep. So, like, if this is it and they're keeping the last 2 under wraps from everyone, that's
and I don't know
insanity.
if everyone does it. I'm not, like you said, the screeners might be getting copies a week in advance at this point. Yeah. I know that one of the reviews that I read on Rotten Tomatoes had talked about a screener who had seen episodes 1 through 4.
But again, dude, it would be actually kind of amazing if they said, "No, you all can enjoy episode 5 at the same time as everybody else." I'd be impressed by that. Tell you the truth. Yeah.
But Marvel's killing it right now because this has been a fantastic series. This show is going places that it's doing all the things we thought it was going to do, but it doesn't feel like it's doing anything wrong. It doesn't feel like it's taking any missteps.
Yeah.
Before we get to the end of our show tonight, I'm going to spring something on Andre that we haven't talked about yet. There's been some news, Marvel news, popping out over the last few days. So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about this because this is Marvel talk. It's not just a Loki recap. Marvel talk in and of itself. First things. We now have confirmation from Disney. Deadpool 3 is being moved. It no longer has a date on the time schedule. Rumored to be taking its May 3rd place as the beginning of the summer movie season is going to be Captain America 4. Your thoughts?
Is it ready? That is the question. Is it ready?
It was finished before the strikes.
Okay, then we're good. Because even if they have to do reshoots or anything, there is possibilities if the AMTP, whatever the fuck the abbreviation is, gets back to the table and has something hammered up by the end of the year, there is time to do reshoots and editing little things they have to do. And if they've got everything on there, there's probably a movie ready to be released.
They had finished primary filming. The filming of the movie that they had intended to make via the script has been filmed. It was filmed beforehand, and they were in the process of editing the film before the strike happened.
Yeah, because I know Deadpool 3 was mid-filming when the SAG-AFTRA strike, because they were doing everything just purely off the script. It's I could see it being moved. If it's ready to go, don't lose the date. Just move Deadpool maybe to July. Maybe Thunderbolts moves from December to July, and you move Deadpool to December.
Maybe. As of right now,
Blade. I don't think that movie's ever going to come out. Tell you the truth. I'm sorry to Mahershala Ali because that guy is absolutely phenomenal actor. But I just feel like that movie's in development hell.
Yeah. Another thing that's come out over the past few days is that we found out that Kevin Feige is apparently very unhappy with the progress that was made on Daredevil Born Again, yeah. Daredevil Born Again, and he has apparently ripped up the entirety of the 18 scripts, and he's going to start from scratch, redoing this show. It never had a date officially, so there's no real worry about this. And again, how do you feel about Kevin Feige taking back control and quality control during this strike to try to make things better?
Literally, She-Hulk made a giant joke about this. The fact that they made a giant joke about this, and it's been when did She-Hulk come out? A year ago?
About it.
And the fact that it took this long for a joke to finally come to reality, and this guy is coming in and actually being able to fix the issues. Like, I understand. I like She-Hulk on like I know you weren't a big fan of She-Hulk.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Okay. I can't remember who the fuck I was talking to. I've had multiple people tell me they really hated it. But I also went into that one knowing this is a fucking sitcom. This is not a Marvel like action property. But like, I understand because again, if you look at the first 3 phases of Marvel, Kevin had a plan. Kevin had what he wanted to do. He had this perfection lined up. We don't. As much as I enjoyed a lot of the stuff in Phase 4, it seemed aimless and just all over the place. Where has Shang-Chi been? Where has a lot of it? Like, you have the Eternals was while interesting, wasn't good. Like, No Way Home, absolutely phenomenal, but again, different situation because it's just a Sony co-producing, right? Mm-hmm. Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, and that's really the 2 strongest movies out of that entire slate.
Yep.
And it doesn't, but again, when we watch Phase 1, we watch Phase 2, we watch Phase 3, while all different properties being directed by different people, it still gave us a throughway of little things here and there to get us to eventually get us to Infinity War and Endgame. We don't have that. And like, yes, I know they announced Kang Dynasty when Phase 4 was coming out, but there was no through line. Like, why have we not seen a little thing of Shang-Chi here? Why haven't we seen anything else of the Eternals? Well, I understand people hated it. Why haven't we seen these, like, where is it all? Like, I understand Black Widow's going to get follow-up with Thunderbolts because a lot of her characters are going to appear there. But, like, it just feels like something's missing. Was missing in Phase 4, even in the TV shows. Like, while I enjoyed most of the TV shows, something was missing in a through line, right? Like,
yeah, and so Kevin Feige has apparently stated in I believe it's either a book or in a couple of interviews here and there that one of the things that happened is when Disney Plus came about, Disney wanted content. Mm-hmm. And so what happened is they were being pushed to announce projects that weren't quite ready, and they were being forced to make deadlines that they couldn't necessarily make.
You could see that, and you could see that in the CGI. You could see that in a lot of other things that they cut corners on. And the fact is that they were announcing shows before they had a showrunner, and then they were telling showrunners what to do instead of interviewing showrunners and saying, what do you want? What in the Marvel universe do you want to pitch us? What do you have an interest in? They were calling people and going, make a story of this. It wasn't somebody organically finding a story like that. Loki was one of the few organic stories that that came from Phase 4.
WandaVision as well.
WandaVision and Captain America and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Those are 3 that did have, but like, this is perfect for me. I fucking hated Moon Knight, and it had no fucking direction, in my personal opinion. That show was fucking.
And I enjoyed a lot of what I saw in Moon Knight because I thought it was something different and a different way for the MCU to go to bring us a different style of television, which I thought was interesting. The one thing that's come out is that Marvel was trying to movie make television shows.
Yeah, and it doesn't work.
No,
you can't do limited series. Limited series in this world does not work.
Yep. And so what we're going to be getting now, and it seems like it's going to be starting with Daredevil, is we're going to get back to basics. They're apparently going to be hiring TV showrunners who are going to have the ball to write the shows and do the shows that they want and make a television show. And Kevin Feige is going to oversee all of the Marvelness of it to make sure that all the shows do what they need to do to bring the story closer.
Because again, I like Kang Dynasty and Fantastic Four and others ones already have been moved due to the strike, due to other movies having to move back. They're already been moved. So this is actually, I think, absolutely perfection. If you want to build towards getting to Kang Dynasty and then to Fantastic Four, then to Secret Wars, this is going to take Kevin Feige doubling down and writing out his storyline again. This man has to write a storyline and say, okay, this character needs to go here, this character, but while also sitting there and hearing pitches from showrunners on what, like he's going to have to give them a bullet point, and then they're going to have to develop something from. It's always going to be a bullet point first. Mm-hmm. Kevin Feige's vision comes first, and I am absolutely in all support of that because look what he did for 10 years, which culminated in arguably two of the best movies in that entire series, in Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, and the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is the rumors that Kevin Feige is looking at Secret Wars as a soft reboot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it's not going to be a hard reboot like what DCEU is doing.
No, I agree.
But I think it sounds like what Kevin Feige has a plan to is to bring in a lot of nostalgia and a lot of old things, bring it all into Secret Wars, put it into a ball, and then seemingly move to a new timeline where certain things are the same, and those are the things that he's keeping.
I don't even think it's
a new
that.
Iron Man. We made a new Black Panther.
I feel like more than anything, this will be more of we're going by the time when Secret Wars ends, we're going to start telling stories in different multiverses all at the same goddamn time. There's going to be wherever the new Iron Man, whether it's whoever it is, like if it's what's the guy from Kingsman, like just say he was the Iron. So like
okay.
It has.
I think talking about Michael Caine. I'm like, I don't understand what Michael Caine's got to do.
No, from Kingsman. Tyler, whatever the heck, the guy who played Elton John. Imagine that he's the new Iron Man. Just say that Iron Man they're bringing in, but they're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to have him pop up from another universe. But then they're going to Tyler Egerton, and they're going to have him be the Tony Stark going forward in another universe. But then you can still have main timeline that we've been watching to have another Shang-Chi movie afterwards. It can exist in let's say 616. Let's just say it as a number. But then you want to have 1312 be Taylor Egerton's Iron Man. And you can develop other characters within his universe. But you can also keep continuing 616 if you want to. That is how I feel. Again, everything's all speculation until everything comes true.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're going to see a multiversal
reset
world more than like you'll still be able to tell the 616 story if you want to keep telling stories, or you just you do a reset where certain characters you get a new, like I don't want a new Steve Rogers because I want them to continue with Anthony Mackie, but Anthony Mackie is getting older too.
Yep.
So would it be smart to reboot
the rumors we're getting Battle World for Secret Wars. The rumor for Secret Wars is that we're getting a Battle World, and we're going to have all three Spider-Men again. We're going to have Deadpool and Hugh Jackman, and we're going to have the X-Men that were in the Fox universe, and all kinds of things like that. And we're going to bring in all sorts of different things from nostalgia, and we're going to put to rest what we've seen.
Okay,
and some of these people end up in a new timeline.
Is there any way they can, like, because they've done such a great job with Missed Minutes, is there any way they can get animated Wolverine from the 97 series
the 97
Battle World?
Coming back.
No, but can you animate that Logan into Battle World to fight Hugh Jackman's Logan? That's what I want.
And all that will be said. We want to go ahead and get out of here because we know the ladies, the fine ladies, Ashley Pizarro and Mel Ball Collins, are watching the main event right now. And that main event is Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander. I would only imagine is the main event.
One half of the Time Splitters versus the good Canadian boy, Josh Alexander.
Yes. We have one world champion and then one guy who, for some reason, is holding a belt as a world champion.
Yeah.
Probably he's the David Arquette of Impact World Champions.
No.
Yes,
no.
Alex Shelley is the David Arquette of World Champions.
No, Alex Shelley deserves to get a top title run.
No, he did not.
He did. Yes, he did.
No, he did not.
You eat a butt.
Alex Shelley is not. This is a discussion for after the air. Yeah. Andre, where can the good people find you and all the great work that you do?
You can find me multiple shows per week on youtube.com/@Andre Melville Wrestling Talk. You can find me on all my socials crap. I can't remember. Twitter, Hive, Mastodon, and Blue Sky, and another one @ThatCanadaGuy. Instagram, Threads, and something else @ThatCanadaDude. You can find me on the YouTube channel. You can find me here on OLE, trying hopefully every week, as long as our schedules permit, doing this show, and hopefully maybe pop up on some others. And that's where you can find me.
I've thoroughly flustered Andre with my downright hatred of Alex Shelley and his
I've had such a long day today. I've been up since 5:30 my time, and it is now 8:30 my time. We're up at 5:30 a.m. It's now 8:30 p.m. I'm tired.
We also have our good friend Mike the Ref saying, "Ed, you wash that dirty mouth off."
That's right. Wash that dirty mouth, Ed.
If you want to hear some of my wonderful wrestling takes, you can go ahead and hear them right here at the X at EdFries12584. You can find me on Twitch at EdFries2002, where my gaming content lives, and I simulcast all of my wonderful shows here at our local establishment. Every Tuesday, you can find me with the lovely natural Ashley Pizarro. We talk all things NXT. This week, we've got Ladies' Night, week 1 of Halloween Havoc. 5 women's matches on a 7-match card so far, to be told. And there might be more, but at least 5 of the 7 women's matches previously announced are going to be women's matches headlined by Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria, with Jade Cargill waiting in the wings. You can also
five matches on NXT.
You can also find me on Wrestle Draft with Papa Parrish as we go ahead and start season 3 this upcoming Wednesday. I am now the reigning, defending, undisputed season 2 champion of Wrestle Draft. And you can go ahead and see who takes season 3 as we go ahead and go head to head with that bastard Eric Bischoff. And of course, Andre and I will be back. We will let you know on our social medias when and where. We will have 3 more episodes of Loki to come. And we will be, regardless of the actor strike, we will be doing a review, hopefully with a lady by our side, talking about the Marvels. Because Andre and I are very obvious to this. 2 chubby white guys talking about an all-female-led movie is not the ideal situation. So if you know somebody, go ahead and hit either of us up on the social medias to tell us somebody we should be bringing in to potentially go ahead and join us to talk about the Marvels, because we are going to talk about that movie. From there, we will discuss where the actor strike is, what's going on, and what we need to do again as the AMTPT has walked away from the table. The actors don't seem to be wanting to play ball as much as the writers did. So we're going to see what happens. But we are going to do the rest of Loki. And we're going to have 2 episodes that weekend. The end of Loki season finale episode we're going to do. And then we're going to do another episode that same weekend where we go ahead and talk about the Marvels. Because all of that happens on the same weekend.
It's going to be an interesting weekend, man. It's good. I got to work in there too. He's talking about your Wrestle Draft and you winning the championship, by the
way. Nothing's fixed in this world. Papa Parrish goes hard at, and we both went hard at Eric Bischoff, and it worked in my favor at the end of the season. But there's still a lot of Wrestle Draft left to go.
Papa Paris just ain't good at WrestleDraft. That's what that means.
Yeah. I didn't say it.
I did. 100%. Paris, you're bad at WrestleDraft.
All right, everybody who's here, please make sure you keep your eyes out for notification in due time, as the women will be joining you very shortly to talk all about Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory 2023, headlined by Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander for the World Championship. Hopefully, Impact will have a proper world champion after this. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you.